Hello, Mandy back again. Today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how I made this little mini canvas, and I called it Where To. It's about 2.5 inches by an inch, and I have a second one here, so I'm going to go ahead and create that. Alright, to start off I'm going to use, I have my little canvas and I'm going to take a sheet of paper from October afternoon, and this one has a map of central London on it, so I'm going to use a section of that in the background. Alright, to attach the paper to my canvas I am going to use the Studio Matte Medium, Multi-Medium in matte. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that up with a brush, and I'm going to coat the front part of the canvas all over. Just like so. Okay, we don't really need to get the edges covered because it's a deep canvas for such a small one. Okay, we're going to be covering that with some embossing powder and some washi tape, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to pop that down, set my brush aside, and I'm going to trim down a section, so I'm working with a smallish piece of the paper. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up on the canvas. Just turn that over so I can get it quite straight. And I'm going to press that down. Now if you want to make sure that it's completely covered, that as in covered, of course it's covered, if you want to make sure that it's completely touching the canvas, I'm just going to take a clean brayer just to make sure that it's all smooth, and I'm just going to run that round the top. Okay, so all I'm going to do then is I'm going to flip my canvas over, and with my scissors I'm going to trim off the excess. We don't need to worry about the edges too much because we can go in with a little piece of sandpaper afterwards and trim. So I'll remove those bits. Okay, and if you find any of the little areas of the edges lift up, just go in with a little bit more matte medium on your brush and we press that down. Okay, I hope I've got the dogs in here with me and the door closed, so hopefully they'll go for a snooze and they won't be distracted by anybody passing at the window and start barking again. So whatever's left on my brush, I'm just going to bring it round the edges to make sure it's completely stuck. And if you want, you can take a layer over. It's a matte medium, so it won't affect anything that we're going to put in on the top afterwards. Okay, I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to blast that dry. I'm going to take a little piece of sandpaper. This is just ordinary sandpaper from the hardware. It's a fine grade. Okay, and any edges that are poking out, all we're going to do, just to smooth them down, is we're going to run over and remove any little pieces. I'm just going to rub that along. You can see it's given a nice finish there. Okay. I'm not too worried about how neat it is, just want to tidy it up a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some washi tape. Now you can use whatever washi tape you want. I have tape here from Tim Holtz, and I also have tape here in a tape measure that came free with a craft magazine. So I'm going to use, I know this size is, it's about 1 centimetre and a bit. I'm going to use that a similar size to the edge of the canvas, and I'm going to run that along the edge of the canvas. Press that down, and if you find it doesn't stick in places, you can go in with a little matte medium on your brush and attach that. Okay, And again, don't worry about any of the white of the canvas base peeping out. We're going to be going in with some distress stains when covering that. So I'm going to trim that off and bring that over the edge just a little bit. Put that down. And all you're going to do is press that down into place, just so you can go back in and glue if anything lifts. Okay, so we'll have something like that into the, it's like a ruler washi tape. There's a little bit of a shine to it, but we're going to tone that down now in a few minutes. So there we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my distress stains. I'm using Vintage Photo and Picket Fence. So I'm going to take the Vintage Photo first, and I'm going to run that along my edges, and just to smooth it out and blend it a little bit in to the paper and the canvas. I'm just going to use my finger. See that? Okay. Same on this side. On the corner. There's a little bit of a shine off this tape, so it's not completely covering it, but it's taking some of the white edge off it. This is a water-based distress, can't even think now, distress stain, so it's not going to go completely over a shiny surface. But if you wanted, you could key your tape. It's not all washi tape, it's just this one. It's a freebie, so roll that along. Cover any of that white. Okay. And you can see where the edge of the canvas, any of the white of the canvas was exposed, it's taking the distress stain really, really nicely and giving it a nice kind of frame around the map. Okay. There's my phone going. I did put it on silent, but it's still on vibrate. Okay, so that's kind of dried already, so I'm going to go in with the Picket Fence, and all I want to do is very lightly just rub it over the surface of the map. I just want to tone down. It's a strong image on the back of this paper, and if I go in with my bicycle then it might get a bit lost. So all I'm going to do is just tone it down a little bit so that the bicycle, when I mount it onto the canvas, pops. Okay, and if you want, you can add some to the edges as well, just very roughly. Go back in with a little bit more Vintage Photo over that. Okay, so you'll end up with nice messy fingers. I'll just give them a wipe. Alright, I might go in with a little bit more Vintage Photo, just at the corners. I don't know why I'm whispering. Okay, now what I'm going to do for the bike, I have used, I did leave it out right beside me so that I wouldn't, there it is. This is from Prima. It's one of their small little packets of clear stamps. I think it was about €2.20. I got this from Cards and Scraps. So we've got individual stamps here. We've got this lovely bicycle, which I absolutely love. We've got individual flowers, and we also have like a bunch of wildflowers there as well. So there's a good few stamps in this set to use, which are perfect for small projects. So what I've done is I've stamped out the bicycle onto some just white tissue paper, okay, and I have used my brown Stays On ink pad. Okay, and all I did is I stamped out a few. I've already used one, so I'm going to cut this one of these out and we're going to attach it to the canvas. Okay, so I'm just going to go in with my scissors and roughly just cut round the image that you want to mount for another project. And what we're going to do, just move the scissors out of the way, so we have our canvas and we have our tissue taped bicycle. All I'm going to do is on the canvas, just where I want the bike to lay, just slap down some matte medium. Now the best thing about the tissue tape is that you can also, when you've stamped, you can see the image quite clearly on the other side as well. So if you want, which we might do for this, we'll have the bicycle going in a different direction, so you can have the options of turning it. To pop that down. Okay, and all you're going to do then is go in with the matte medium that's left on your brush, and you're just going to paste the tissue tape onto your canvas. And because the tissue tape is so fine, the image stays quite strong, and the tissue tape blends into the background and almost disappears. So it's a great technique if you want to stamp onto something awkward, especially a canvas. Sometimes I find with canvases, when you stamp down on them, because they haven't got a solid back, the canvas will bow and you won't get a clear image. So I find this technique is great for mounting something like the bicycle stamp onto a canvas. Okay, so you can see that has almost disappeared, and you can see the London map coming through the bike as well. Alright, so that's that done. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave my brush out. No point dipping it in water yet. I'm just going to give that a quick blast and I'll be right back. Now, I'm back now. It's dried a little bit. I can work on the background. On the original canvas, I used the Prima Enfoncé paper collection, so the pattern on this paper was already in it, but I want to add a little bit of definition on the edges. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a small stamp. I thought I had no kind of travel holiday theme stamps in my collection, but it turns out I've got more than I thought I had. So what I'm going to work with is, let me see, I've got the Tim Holtz Visual Artistry stamps here from Stampers Anonymous, and I'm going to use the ticket stamp. You see that? I'm just going to pop that out of the packet and I'm going to mount that onto my block. Okay, I have my stamp mounted onto my block. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of distress ink. I'm going from stains to inks. I'm forgetting what I'm saying. I'm going to go in with the walnut stain distress ink. I'm going to ink up my stamp. And what I'm going to do, rather than take the stamp to the canvas, I'm just going to lift the canvas up so that I can put my finger on the background and push in so I can get a clear impression. And just on the corners, I'm just going to pop the canvas randomly onto the stamp on the acrylic block. So you can see I've got some of the ticket overlaid on the background paper. Alright, just adds a little bit more dimension. Okay, so now that's done. I'm going to give that a quick blast again with the heat tool just to make sure that it dries completely. So I'll be right back again. Okay, we have that background stamp dry, so I am going to go in now and I am going to just dress up the edges where the washi tape is just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Ranger Antiquities Verdigris embossing powder, which gives I don't know what the name, well, it's probably verdigris effect. When you see copper on buildings and it's weathered and aged, you get this lovely gorgeous kind of sea greens. So this is the effect that it'll create, and it adds texture as well. It looks like it has a little bit of distress powder in it, that real textured sandy kind of effect. So I'm going to use that on the edges. So what I'm going to do, I've laid down some paper to catch my embossing powder. I've got my Versamark here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the glue down on the edge, but what I'm not going to cover the entire area. I'm just going to hit random areas by lightly tapping, and then I'm going to sprinkle on the embossing powder. Okay, now I did dry the distress stain, but it was obviously not dry completely, so where the distress stain is on the front of the canvas, that'll tell you that it's still quite wet. The embossing powder has stuck, so I'm just going to dust that away. So we're going to continue on all 4 sides of the canvas. So we have covered all 4 sides on the canvas with the verdigris embossing powder. I'm just going to tip that back into my pot, and I'm going to give that a blast with the heat tool, and we will get it melted and set. So on the hot setting on your heat tool, just going to pick up the canvas, and I'm going to dry that embossing powder. Now, the embossing powder has been set, so I'll move it there slowly so you can see the effect that we've achieved over the washi tape. It's just to add a little bit of texture to the edge of the canvas. Okay, now we're going to go ahead now and decorate our little canvas. So what I'm going to use, I have these resin embellishments from Prima. There's a lot of Prima going on at the moment. Okay, and I've got these corner finishes. I've used quite a few of them, so I have these 2 left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick these up and see which one matches the canvas. I think I will go in with the one that I already used on the original, and we'll pop that down on the opposite side. Okay, now it's quite wet, it's quite white, so all I'm going to do is just over, you probably can't see that now with the, I'll just pop it down on the board and use that so that you can see it. I'm going in with the distress stain, and again, because this is a water-based stain and we're working on something plastic with a resin finish, it's quite so it will catch into some areas, so all I'm doing is just, I've blobbed on some of the vintage photo distress stain, and I'm just going to rub it into the grooves with my finger. Okay, we'll pop that aside, and again I'm coming in with my matte medium. You can use glossy accents or PVA, whatever you want to use. I like using a matte finish. If the glue squeezes out or squirts out over the edges, it will dry to a matte finish, so it won't stand out against the canvas. And it is strong enough to hold down a small embellishment like this. If I was going any larger, I'd use a small amount of hot glue. Okay, so we've mounted that onto the corner of the canvas. Can you see that? Hold that there. Okay. It's an autofocus and I don't know how to change that setting, so I'm sorry about that. So, okay, so what we want to do is we want to put on some sentiments and greetings. So I have this sheet, again from Prima, and I have these 2 sheets of paper that are from the Songbird collection. And what we have is, there are patterns that you can actually individually cut out, and on one of the sheets we have little tickets. So I'm going to cut out the one that says admit 1. So I'll cut those out, the pieces I want to add, and I will be right back. Okay, now I've cut out the 2 pieces that I want to use. I'll just lift those up for you to see. Okay, they're roughly cut. You don't need to worry about having them perfect. We're going to rub some ink on the edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in with the distress stain, and I'm just going to rub that around the edge. of the pieces I want to add. Okay, I need a little bit. Okay, so put the lid back on that. I'm going to come in with some more matte medium, and just on the upper left hand corner, just opposite where we place the resin piece, I'm going to attach, oops, press that down with my finger, the cutout pieces. Okay, let me just rub that over the surface. I'm leaving this overhanging because I'm going to trim the edge off. Okay, we'll come in with our ticket, and we're also going to leave that hanging over the edge. Okay, and then all we're going to do, you might want to let this just dry and set onto the canvas before you cut it, so I'll just hold it very carefully. I'm going to trim that down. I'm going to come back in just on the very edge. I've got a little bit of distress stain on my finger. Now this way, so if you let it dry just a little bit, it won't wiggle about on you. Okay, I also have this small embellishment. These are sets of brads. I have the key on the original canvas, and I'm going to use one of the door locks. Okay, so this is in a copper finish, and all I'm going to do is snip off the back. We flatten that down so that there's no raised parts. I'm sticking matte medium to everything. It's now on the mouse mat, and again I'm just going to blob on matte medium onto the back, and just where I placed the paper on the corners, and I'm just going to run that over the top just to hold it in place. It's sticking to my finger now, and then we let that dry. Quick blast of the heat tool, and that is dried. And what I found also while I was rummaging for stamps, I found this stamp from Heidi Swap. It's a couple of years old, and what we have on, oh, that's not the one, it's this one here, we have place. So I'm going to go ahead and get that onto, it's already on it, onto place, and I'm going to use my Stays On. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it down the bottom of the stamp, just over the wheel of the bike. And again, my hand is behind the canvas so that when I stamp it, the stamp will hopefully come in contact with the canvas and I won't get any bow. Well, that's alright, it came out okay. And there we go, we have finished canvas. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will be back in a few days with another tutorial. Thanks for watching, bye!